Where were you? Alicent came to Dragonstone. She will open the gates of the Red Keep and surrender to me. Did you feel the chill when she said that? Because I certainly did. The king has abdicated the throne. A new dawn is creeping over the horizon. Rhaenyra is the queen of dragons, and absolute power is hovering right there at her fingertips. When that first trailer for House of the Dragon Season 3 dropped, I think we all collectively stopped breathing. The dance of the dragons isn't just simmering anymore. It is about to reach a catastrophic, heartbreaking boiling point. We've spent 2 agonizing years moving pieces around the board, holding our breath through the tension, and watching these bitter, deeply personal grudges fester between the blacks and the greens. And now, someone is picking up the entire board and flipping it over. There is so much ground to cover, and honestly, we just need to talk about it. In this deep dive, we're going to sit down and walk through exactly where this tragic story is heading, so you have the full context for what you just saw in the teaser. Look, let's be real. The HBO series has never been a perfect, one-to-one adaptation of George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood. They've made some massive, wildly debated changes. But to understand where we're going, we have to talk about the book. So, consider this your official, neon-flashing spoiler warning. If you want to go in completely blind and let the show shatter your heart organically, turn back now. But if you're like me and need to mentally prepare yourself, or if you know you'll forget all of this by the time the season actually premieres anyway, pull up a chair. You're in exactly the right place. Instead of jumping around wildly analyzing single frames out of context, let's walk through the next major era of this story together, in order. Let's bridge the gap between that quiet, tense Season 2 finale and the bloody nightmares to come. Here is everything you need to know about House of the Dragon Season 3, and fair warning, it is going to hurt. Picking up the pieces, the quiet before the storm. Season 3 is going to heavily adapt the second half of the Fire and Blood chapter, hauntingly titled, The Dying of the Dragons, the Red Dragon and the Gold. If you were frustrated that the Season 2 finale, The Queen Who Ever Was, didn't give us a massive, fiery battle, I get it. But it was entirely deliberate. They were setting the stage for an all-out, continental apocalypse. Think about where we left off. Daemon is finally free of his hallucinatory, haunted house side quest at Harrenhal. And it wasn't just a spooky detour, it changed him. Seeing that terrifying vision at the Weirwood Tree, the White Walkers, Blood Raven, the actual Song of Ice and Fire, shook him to his core. He finally realized that his own desperate need for a crown means absolutely nothing in the face of the Long Night. Watching him bend the knee, realizing he needs to support Rhaenyra, was a massive shift. He's no longer a rogue agent. He is a fiercely loyal, terrifying weapon aimed right at the Greens. And can we talk about Alicent and Rhaenyra meeting in secret on Dragonstone? I know the fandom was split on this departure from the books, but the tragedy of it is staggering. Driven by utter desperation, realizing she has raised monsters she cannot control, Alicent practically begs to hand over King's Landing. The woman who built the Green faction from the ground up is now actively trying to dismantle it just to save her sweet daughter, Helena. It is a gut-wrenching, full-circle moment. Meanwhile, the world is catching fire. Aemond was out burning Sharp Point in a fit of pure rage. Larry Strong quietly slipped a broken Aegon out of the capital, and armies from the freezing north to the fertile Reach are finally marching. Oh, and Rhaenyra tracking a wild dragon, probably Sheepstealer, in the Vale? I am so here for it. It looks like she's absorbing the role of Nettles from the books. While it's sad to lose a fan-favorite character, giving Rhaenyra a proactive, badass storyline is something she desperately deserves. Plus, it spares us the incredibly weird, uncomfortable romantic dynamic Daemon had with Nettles in the books, because putting that on his own daughter would be too far, even for Game of Thrones. The tragedy of the gay abandon. I need you to brace yourselves for this next part. Trying to be a good mother, trying to protect her youngest, Rhaenyra sends her little boys, Aegon the Younger and Viserys, away to Essos where they'll be safe. And yes, having little kids named Aegon and Viserys when we already have adult characters named Aegon and Viserys is a headache, but that's George R.R. Martin for you. It's an act of pure maternal love. And because this is Westeros, that love directly leads to our first massive tragedy, their capture aboard a ship called the Gay Abandon. Halfway across the Narrow Sea, they're ambushed by the massive Triarchy fleet, the very fleet we saw Tywin Lannister awkwardly negotiating for in the mud pits last season. The ambush is sudden, and it is terrifying. Young Aegon, realizing they are doomed, manages to scramble onto his young dragon, Stormcloud. It is the little boy's first time flying. It is the dragon's last. Pelted with arrows and violently impaled through the neck by a scorpion bolt, Stormcloud pushes through unimaginable pain just to carry his boy back to Dragonstone. The dragon dies within an hour of landing, sacrificing its own life for its rider. Aegon survives, but the crushing, suffocating guilt of leaving his brother behind is a trauma that will permanently scar his soul. And little Viserys? He doesn't have a dragon to fly away on. He tries so bravely to hide his identity among the ship's crew, but a terrified cabin boy points him out. For a very long time, Rhaenyra will believe Viserys is dead. Just add another crushing weight to a mother's already breaking heart. The Battle of the Gullet. Fire on the water. The capture of her children breaks whatever restraint Rhaenyra had left. The Triarchy doesn't stop at the ships. They push right into the Gullet. They burn Driftmark. They destroy Spicedown so brutally that it is literally never rebuilt again in the history of the world. Furious, drowning in grief and screaming for vengeance, Rhaenyra sends her forces to obliterate them, led by her eldest son, Jace. This is going to be the biggest, most chaotic spectacle the show has ever attempted. When Jace swoops down on Vermax, he expects a quick, fiery victory. But the Triarchy sailors aren't fools. They fought Daemon and Corlys years ago. They know how to fight dragons. They aim for the eyes. They aim for the wings. Just when it looks hopeless, massive shadows burst through the clouds from Dragonstone. The newly claimed dragon seeds, Ulf, Hugh, Adam, and likely Rhaenyra arrive. It turns the sea into a boiling, screaming cauldron of fire and splintered wood. It's glorious, but it is a devastatingly Pyrrhic victory. In the chaos, Jace flies too low. Vermax is struck, maybe a grappling hook, maybe a bolt to the eye, and crashes violently into the sea. Jace manages to leap free, clinging to smoking wreckage, gasping for air. But there is no plot armor in this universe. Myrish crossbowmen spot the struggling prince in the water. He is shot. Again and again and again, until he slips beneath the waves. The good son, the dutiful heir, the prince we all rooted for, is gone. And the show has been warning us. Have you noticed Rhaenyra constantly standing in front of the skull of Meraxes on Dragonstone? That legendary dragon died the exact same way Vermax does, shot right out of the sky. It breaks everyone. Corlys Velaryon looks at his burning home and his dead grandson and mutters that if this is what winning looks like, he never wants to know losing. And back on Dragonstone, the cracks in the dragon seeds begin to show. Adam of Hull is traumatized by the slaughter, seeking comfort from Corlys. But Ulf? Ulf gets drunk on power and arrogance, demanding a lordship. That unchecked, greedy entitlement is going to lead to the worst betrayals this realm has ever seen. The fate of Otto Hightower. Where in the world is Otto Hightower? We saw him locked in a dark, mysterious cell in the finale. In the show, he was supposed to be heading to Old Town, but someone grabbed him. Is he rotting in the Beesbury's dungeons? Did Larry Strong betray him? Let's be honest, Rhys Ifans is far too incredible and expensive of an actor to keep locked in a box all season. Otto's story is hurtling toward a violent end. The ultimate puppet master, the man who pimped out his daughter, sparked a continental war, and schemed for decades, is going to lose his head very early in Season 3. The tragedy of the great architect being crushed by the very house he built. The fall of King's Landing. The Queen takes her throne. This is the shot we've waited years for. Rhaenyra, finally sitting on the Iron Throne, wearing her father's crown. We are definitely getting the fall of King's Landing. It makes perfect narrative sense. She will start the season drowning in grief over Jace and Viserys. That hesitation we saw in Season 2? Gone. She decides to go straight for the throat. While the Green Army, along with Aemond and Vhagar, marches out to Harrenhal, falling perfectly for Daemon's trap, Rhaenyra and Daemon fly straight into an unprotected King's Landing. The shadows of dragons over the Red Keep will cause absolute terror. But the real masterstroke is on the ground. The gold cloaks? Daemon made them. He bought their loyalty with blood years ago. The moment he arrives, they turn on their Hightower commanders without blinking. As the lore says, the cloaks look gold whichever way you turn them. Thanks to Alicent paving the way for a surrender, the city falls in mere hours. The descent of Rhaenyra Targaryen. But don't cheer just yet. Because once she walks up those steps to the Iron Throne, everything changes. She stays in her armor all night, forcing the terrified lords to swear loyalty or lose their heads. And the lore tells us something chilling. The Iron Throne rejects her. It cuts her legs and hands as she sits on it. I can almost guarantee the show will show us this visual. This is the beginning of the end for Rhaenyra's soul. The show has made us love her, made her sympathetic and hesitant to shed blood. But grief and paranoia are poisons. In the books, her rule becomes so harsh and unforgiving that the starving commoners start calling her Mager with teats. She believes she is fulfilling a divine prophecy, the Song of Ice and Fire. And when people think they have the gods on their side, they can justify horrible, tyrannical things. The heavy taxes, the paranoia, the executions. We are about to watch the tragic, slow-motion fall of the realm's delight, and it is going to break our hearts. The dark fate of Helaena Targaryen. If you thought Rhaenyra's descent was sad, let's talk about Helaena. Trapped in the city when it falls, sweet, innocent Queen Helaena is locked away as a prisoner. In the lore, she is eventually pushed completely off the edge by a horrific mixture of grief, isolation, and her own crushing prophetic visions. Unable to bear it anymore, she throws herself from her high tower, impaling herself on the moat spikes below. The people of King's Landing adored her. She was pure and kind in a city of monsters. When she dies, the city completely snaps. They immediately believe Rhaenyra had her murdered. Alicent, who gave up the city specifically to save her daughter, will realize her sacrifice was for nothing. Her grief and her inevitable curse upon Rhaenyra will likely be the Emmy-winning moment of the entire series. It's exactly why Helaena appeared as a ghost in Daemon's visions. She is the ultimate, tragic casualty of this war. The God's Eye, the anime showdown. Helaena visiting Daemon beautifully mirrors her relationship with Aemond. Daemon and Aemond are two sides of the same dark, twisted coin. Their fates are chained together. Realizing they can never win the war while the monstrous Vhagar is alive, Daemon goes to Harrenhal to wait. For 14 days, he waits. He marks the weirwood tree. The skies darken. The tension builds. And eventually, Aemond arrives. Aemond will likely have hooked up with the mystical Alice Rivers by this point, replacing the true foresight of his sister Helaena with the dark magic of Alice to feed his massive ego. Will we get the actual battle above the God's Eye this season? The one where Daemon literally leaps off his dragon midair to drive a sword through Aemond's blind eye? It might be the Season 3 finale, or they might hold it for Season 4. But the atmospheric, suffocating buildup between these two titans is going to be television history. The storming of the dragon pit, the nightmare. Beyond the politics, Season 3 has to tackle the absolute nightmare that ends Rhaenyra's reign. Remember that creepy, pale fanatic with the missing hand preaching to the hungry crowds in Season 2? That's the shepherd. As the people of King's Landing starve under Rhaenyra's heavy taxes and blockades, he convinces them that the dragons aren't gods, they are demons meant to be destroyed. This sparks an unstoppable, apocalyptic riot. Tens of thousands of screaming, starving peasants storm the dragon pit. It is a claustrophobic bloodbath. People are burned alive by the dozens, but through sheer, overwhelming madness, they manage to swarm and slaughter the chained dragons inside. Helena's beautiful dragon, Dreamfire, goes so mad trying to escape that she brings the massive stone ceiling crashing down on everyone. And adding to the sheer, unbearable tragedy of it all, Rhaenyra has to watch her son Joffrey fall to his death trying to fly Syrax to save his own dragon. It breaks Rhaenyra completely. She fought so hard to win the throne, only to watch her city burn and her family die. Ending Season 3 with her triumphant taking of the capital in the middle, only to watch her lose her mind and be forced to flee into the dark night by the finale, it would be a perfect, wildly tragic arc. So, what do you think? The Dance of the Dragons is about to get so much darker, so much bloodier, and incredibly complex. The line between the good guys and the bad guys is going to completely dissolve into ash. Do you think Season 3 will end on a high note with Rhaenyra sitting on the Iron Throne? Or do you think they'll push all the way to the horrifying riots and her fleeing the city? Pull up a chair, drop your thoughts and wild book theories in the comments, and let's talk about the impending fire and blood.